swim till Saturday. It's breakfast with Bob. It's breakfast with Bob. It's breakfast with Bob.
Poncho Man!
Oh, Wednesday morning.
And welcome to day 3, Breakfast with Bob, Kona edition. We are brought to you by EAS Sports Nutrition, Hoka, One, Polar, Oscar Wellness, Velo Fix. For the first time, we will be at the Four Seasons Huala Live for our championship edition on Sunday, and we are airing on triathlonworld.com. Our next guest, kicking off our morning, she has won 6 Ironman titles. She has won 18 70.3 titles, 2015 and 16 70.3 North American champion, and is coming off a third at 70.3 Worlds. Heather Wurtele. Heather, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
I am wonderful.
A lovely way to start this Wednesday.
Yes, yes. So we were chatting before we came on, you and Trevor, both professional triathletes, and the natural thought from us people on the outside is, gosh, I bet it's great when Heather's racing and then Trevor can support her, and then when Trevor's racing, Heather can support him. But it's better when you guys are racing.
Yeah, we prefer it when we're both racing, which we are this year, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
Trevor hasn't raced this race in the past, sort of feeling like his swim hasn't been at the level that he was going to be really competitive.
Yeah.
But this year he was 52-minute Ironman, second out of the water behind Andy Potts at Ironman Canada. And so
Where
now
did that come from?
Yeah, right? Like really improved. And so feeling like he can be in the mix and got his spot there. And so it's really fun that we're both here,
Yes.
both training, seeing each other's progression, and we're both on the same wavelength in
Right.
terms of the nerves, but just the stuff we need to do, and there isn't that expectation. Before, he's been training really hard for another race, so he's really tired from training, but then trying to help me out and do all this stuff, and then I'm sort of expecting the support guy.
Yes, where's my domestique?
Yeah,
Where is this guy?
What do you mean I have to make dinner? This is ridiculous. So
I'm
now,
training for something else. I
Yeah.
don't got time for that.
Yeah, so now we both are doing our thing, and it's really good.
Love it.
Yeah.
And your prep coming in here, coming off a third at the Worlds and going 4:13. That's impressive.
Yeah, that was a great race down in Mooloolaba this year, as have been the 70.3 Worlds the last few years. It's a really great event, like world-class athletes, and so it's definitely a good primer for this
Right.
event. You sort of see where you're at fitness-wise, get that good, really dynamic competitive race environment, and it was handy just to fly right here from Australia instead of flying all the way back to Canada and then back to here. So I've been
Right.
here for a month.
A month?
Yeah, just came straight after that World.
Wow.
So
Is this longest you've spent here leading in?
Yeah. Last year also I came pretty shortly after
Worlds.
7.3 Worlds in Zell-Amzi. So I take a while to adjust to the heat and humidity.
Uh-huh.
So I think it's really valuable for me to be here and just really get the sweat rate, nutrition, hydration dialed. And
Yes.
so, yeah, it definitely leaves me feeling super prepared for the heat and confident for race day.
Well, you've finished 8th here before.
Yeah.
But I've always felt that you have a better one in you here for this. This race seems like it suits you well because you can come off the bike and run your way through.
Yeah, I've always lamented a little bit sometimes my bad luck last year with the mechanical on the bike. I felt
Yes.
really ready to knock it out of the park, and it was very difficult to have sort of circumstances out of my control happen. But yeah, it's one of those races where I love hard races, and this race is hard, and it's just sort of different hard.
Right.
It's more the climate, but that bike is no joke with the wind and the heat and humidity and all the rolling hills that are deceptively challenging. That climb up to Javi is not nothing, that's for sure, especially when you're into screaming headwind the whole way. So I really enjoy the challenge of it, and I feel like I have a good one in me too.
I think you do too. And what's interesting to me is when you look at this race and you look at the fact that you have been here for so long, every single day this course is different, right? When you ride
it's amazing, yeah.
I mean, have you ever had the same wind conditions 2 days in a row?
No.
Not very often.
Yeah, some things are predictable. Where the wind is going to switch is predictable, but sometimes it's completely opposite the direction that it comes from. And I've had days where you're riding in a headwind the whole way up to Javi. You turn around, you get a tailwind for about 2 seconds, and then it turns into a headwind again.
And you're like, where did that come from? Where's the payback?
Yeah, so it's definitely I feel like people get caught up in like, ooh, I hope it's like this on race day. I hope it's like that. Just
Yeah.
forget about it because it's going to be something
No.
different.
So when you look at your 8th place finish, do you look back at that and go, okay, what did I do that day? What did I do that made that, or maybe it was the type of thing where I just didn't have a mechanical, I didn't have any
Yeah.
other outside stuff.
You know, it's interesting because as an athlete, I've progressed so much over the years, and I'm such a better, stronger athlete than I was back then. And
Yes.
it was just a case of maybe a little bit of ignorance is bliss because it was
Yeah.
early on in my career, and just a day where everything came together, you know, and having that belief and so you just sort of have to get in that same
Sure.
mind space again, you know. Anything is possible. There's no reason I'm not going to have a great performance, and you
There
just
is
go
no
out there
reason,
and do what you can. So yeah, it's interesting. You try and replicate the good things, but also if you spend too much, like, oh, it needs to be exactly like how it was then that's not necessarily productive
Well,
either.
I remember years ago, Scott Tinley won the Ironman New Zealand, and everything went perfect, right?
Right.
And he like came right through the finish line. Give me a pen and pad.
Yeah.
And he wrote down everything he did exactly the same stuff next race, and blew up, right?
Right.
So it's every day is so different out here.
And I think this course especially, you know, people have maybe time goals but it's one where they just sort of get thrown out the window because the conditions are so challenging that you really have to be aware of your body and
Yeah.
go, okay, I can run faster than this, but maybe I'm going to overheat. So, you know,
Right.
I need to just chill out for when everyone's screaming and you want to run 6-minute miles at the start of the marathon kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the other part of the conditions I think that make this race unique is the competition, right?
Yeah.
There's no other race you go to where nobody's training through this. This is nobody's B race. Like,
Right.
everybody is here at the sharpest they are going to be all year. Having that type of field here, how does that change the way you race, or does it?
If anything, it makes me really stoked because that's what racing is about, is having these amazing athletes
Yeah.
and this, like, that's what I love, that atmosphere of all the best are here. And so, you know, that makes me excited, and I try and think about it in those terms
Mm-hmm.
instead of getting, you know, intimidated or thinking, oh, I have to change all of these things. Because again, I think it really is, you have to react to the race environment, but you can't make stupid decisions and go sort of outside of the zone you need to be in, because
Right.
it's going to come back and bite you later in the race. So it's an interesting mix of racing, but also staying
Tactics.
in control and tactics.
Yeah.
I remember last year, you know, watching Jody and Mary Beth on the run, fighting each other and running so hard, and then they both
were
blew up.
done,
Yeah.
right?
And so
Yeah.
you kind of are going, oh wow, there's definitely a lesson there where
You've
there's
got
a time to race and a time to just, okay,
It's
I
sort of
gotta
like
be in my
racing starts when you get out of the energy lab.
own. Yeah.
Really.
That's it. And everyone says it. You know, well, if you can run strong the last 15K, you're going to do great. But actually doing that in reality is a whole nother thing.
Different
Yeah.
game. So your success at the 70.3 distance, like you said, third this year at the Worlds, second the year before, third the year before that, always on the podium at the Worlds for the last 3 years. You obviously have to take confidence from that, because you're racing against that field is just as good, right?
Yeah.
That you see here. What do you take from that success? You're like, hey, listen, I'm top 3 in the world, and I'm racing a lot of the same people. You got Danielle Laripe. Besides Holly Lawrence, it's the same folks.
Yeah.
So what do you take from that success? Because obviously you're a podium gal.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you just take belief in your ability away. You know that you can rise to the challenge in really competitive
Right.
world championship situations. And so, yeah, it comes with a lot of confidence. But just in every race, no matter how well you've done in the past or how poorly you've done in the past, you always have to earn that spot on the day, right?
Right.
So I think that there's also that good amount of, yes, I'm confident, but I also know anything can sort of happen on that day, and you always have to just dig really deep and
Yes.
do all you can to deliver your best performance.
So probably one of the coaches who doesn't get as much play as most, Paulo Sousa,
Right.
Eric Lagerstrom, Joe Malloy, Greg, multiple Olympians, Manny Huerta,
Yeah.
yourself. What makes Paulo, because that's a variety of athletes, men, women, long distance, shorter distance.
Right.
What does he bring to the table as a coach?
Yeah, Paulo, so the group that we all train with is called the Triathlon Squad, and we've been training with them since way back in 2011.
Okay.
And I think
When you
more-
finished 8th here, by the way.
Yeah, more than anything, it's just he has a very consistent long-term approach, and it's nothing fancy. It's just 100% commitment to the athletes.
Right.
And a real understanding of coaching and of the science and of like long-term development. And we all just train really hard and
Right.
believe in what his program and have also that network amongst one another where, you know, we're seeing, oh, we're with these Olympians and, you know, and like Summer Cook recently just won
Yes.
the
Won the
WTS in
WTS,
Edmonton
yes.
and just going like, oh my goodness, seeing her development over the last while. And so in that group environment, even though they're, you know, short course or long course, just seeing that it works and that belief and that supportive training environment,
Yes.
it's all been, yeah, it's just great. It's just, you know, if you do the work, you're going to get fit and you're going to be competitive.
One of the when I was looking at your race schedule from this year, you went to Challenge Iceland.
Yeah.
And that's a place, when you think of triathlon, you think warm, you think, you know, St. Croix and Kona and Bahamas. Iceland usually isn't at the, or, you know, Iceland is usually at the top of the list.
Right. Yeah, it's the farthest north latitude triathlon. And what's interesting is the landscape actually looks a lot like those lava fields out
Does
there.
it really?
But it's just cold because it's the same. It's a volcanic island, and so it's really interesting when you land because you're like,
It's an
"Oh,
island.
this looks like Kona. This really does." And windy and
I'm wearing
except for
gloves
it's cold.
and I've got a face mask on, but it sort of looks like Kona.
But I love that race. I would really encourage anyone
Yeah.
to just sign. It's such a different experience. And Iceland, I mean, just a small island. People are super stoked about triathlon. It's
Yes.
a really growing sport there. And just a very cool thing to
thing.
experience. Yeah. You just have to dress warm. But, I mean, when that's your expectation,
You're
you
from
just prepare for it.
Canada.
Yeah.
Come on, you lived in a
Armor,
motorhome.
gloves, whatever.
You guys were camping and living in a motorhome for how many
right.
years were you guys living in that motorhome?
We lived in it full time for almost 6 years, 5.5 years.
Wow.
But the past 2, we've had an actual
You have a home?
Home, yeah, a non-home on wheels in Kelowna, British Columbia.
And
so that's
is
been
that
nice.
has that been fun?
It's
Having
been
a real
great.
home? Do you
Yeah.
guys get sort of the road sweats where you're like, hey, we got to get out. Let's get in the
you know
car.
what?
Let's get in the
We kind of were like, we're never going to go back in the RV ever again, you know. But then last winter, we were looking at renting a place, but by the time you pack all your stuff, you know, training things for a couple months
Yes.
down south, it's just easier to go in the RV. So again, we were 3
Did
months
you?
in the RV,
You
yeah,
did
in
3
St.
months
George,
in there?
yeah. So.
That is, and St. George is a great place to train.
It is, and it's a really easy place to train out of, and we have our routine there because we've been there so often.
Yeah.
So we know where to park and all the state parks to, you know, so it works out well.
What's the best part about traveling in the motorhome, and what's the worst part?
The best part is your home is with you wherever you go, so
Right.
you have your own
You
bed
have
and your own
everything.
pillows and your coffee maker and whatever. The worst part is just the lack
Small,
of space.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had like a
You guys,
square
yeah, it's not
foot
like you
little
guys are
counter
like 5'3"
space.
or something,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, you guys take up some room.
It's actually funny because, you know, we can never put our arms above our heads there. And so now I'm like, I love stretching out and I keep sticking my hand in the ceiling fan in our place here. And Trevor's like, seriously, you lived in an RV for 6 years. Why are you? I'm
What are you
like,
doing?
I like stretching out. So, yeah.
When you look back at your career, is there one race that meant the most to you? One race that sort of told you that, you know what, I'm going in the right direction. This is a career I could be good at.
Oh, well, you know, that feeling when I felt like, hey, I could go somewhere in triathlon was
Yeah.
really when my very first Ironman that I won, which is Coeur d'Alene,
Yeah.
back in 2008,
Yeah.
where I was still working full time, and you know, and then it sort of just lit the fire. Like, wow, if I did this full time, and
Just
you know,
think
I
what
could
would
actually
happen.
make a
Yeah,
career
yeah.
of it. But since then, there's been a lot of performances where you're just like, probably last year at 70.3 Worlds in Zell Amzi, like I was not feeling well leading up into that race, and I just did a lot of mental psyching up to sort of get over a cold, and just dug absolutely as deep as I possibly could on race day, and was in real trouble at the finish, but got my way into second, and I was just like, oh, that's how much I can dig, you know, like that's
sort
how
of
much
found
I can
out.
give, yeah.
You sort of found out,
And so it's always good when you learn that about yourself, like, oh, I thought I was always giving 100%, but that's actually
This is
100%.
this is what 100%
Yeah,
really looks
yeah.
like, right?
And that-
Where I really don't know where I am. I really can't see straight.
Yeah.
But I got it back fairly quickly afterwards, so maybe I can go there again.
Right, exactly. That's the thing, and you start sort of pushing those boundaries, and also the Island House race last year was really interesting for me
Yes.
because I had never done these short sprint distance
Yeah.
max efforts, and you're like, oh, okay, so
Because you really didn't come from that whole ITU thing.
I've
Yeah.
always been. I started almost doing more Ironmans and then going sort of shorter, doing halves. And so I've always been very good at pacing and,
Right.
and so it was good to just like, no, you need to go as fast as you can. It has to really, like, you almost can't breathe the entire time.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting.
What's fun about that is I love the mix of athletes. Here you are. There's Gwen Jorgensen. There's yourself. There's you got half Ironman. You got Miranda Carfrae. You got Ironman champions. You got 70.3 champions. You got gold medalists, and you're all doing the same. You're doing stage racing over multiple days. I love that.
It's a brilliant format, and I really felt privileged, to be able to race Gwen and Flora Duffy and people that I would never be able to race against otherwise. And they're just such inspiring athletes, and just to see how they operate and the professionalism with which they conduct themselves and stuff. It's just a great experience, and always so much to learn. And
$500,000 this year.
Yeah, it's going to be, the format's a little different. Last year it was just 10 people invited.
20 this time, right?
And now it's 20, and you have to qualify to make it to the final day on the island, which is going to be a tall order, but it's going to be really fun. So I'm looking forward to it. And this year there's us time trial cyclists can actually use our TT bikes, so that will be better, which was on road bikes last year. So,
nice. Yeah. So it's more of a balance.
Yeah.
I love that. So for somebody from Canada, and with the legacy here, Peter Reed just got inducted in the Hall of Fame. Heather Fuhr and Lori Bowden last year got inducted in the Hall of Fame. The Punto sisters. There's such a great legacy of Canadian champions here. What would it mean to you to win this race?
Oh, it would just be a huge dream come true. I mean, I would be so thrilled on so many levels. It almost just makes me get choked up thinking about it, But I love how there is that legacy of amazing athletes from Canada, and you feel like it's totally in the realm of possibility, and that's really awesome. It's just so exciting.
Well, what's great about it is, like we said, you've gone head to head with all these folks, right? You were, Daniela was behind you at 70.3 Worlds, and you've beaten pretty much everybody in the field. So they're, like, wait, why can't I win this race?
That's right, and that belief that it can happen and setting yourself up just for your best day. You can't decide you're not going to win, because then, you're not going to, right?
Exactly.
And of course, everyone's hopefully going in with that mindset. And there's so many people that could potentially win and be on the podium. And that's the whole deal. That's what makes it a world champ. So it's going to be a great race.
I love it. Heather, thanks so much for taking time.
Yeah,
it's
thanks a lot for having
always a
me.
pleasure. Give our best to Trevor. Hopefully he'll have a great one, too.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks.
All right, Pacho Man, take us out.
It's Aloha Wednesday. We're gonna run to Saturday. It's breakfast with Bob. It's breakfast with Bob and Heather.
Woo!